So it is our 18th day as a challenge to be a disciplined and consistent trader. So first of all, I will want to show you some examples of pattern one that appeared and I executed on that trade and made some profit on that trade. So just wait for few seconds before I show you that pattern that repeated I exec and my execution on that pattern is perfect for today. So let's start. So it was basically pattern one that appeared in GBP when we go off of stream. I executed on that pattern. It was counter trend trade, and as I was expecting that if we break above this wick at 163.940, there is high probability for prices to at least touch this area. So it was almost 44 pips. I sort of I was able to capture around 30 pips on this trade. However, on my demo account, I captured full 48 pips on this trade. So, what are requirements for pattern 1? There are 4 requirements for pattern 1 as we have defined from when we identified pattern 1, and we have seen enough examples, and I explained pattern 1 on my 27th June live stream in London session. So these were 4 requirements of pattern 1. If we look at our blog, let me find that post in which I have shown pattern 1. So this is what are the 4 conditions in pattern 1. First of all, we require fake out. Like at this spot we have fake out zone required. So second thing was this zone. Third thing was volume. There was volume present, as we are witnessing big body candles. And number 4 thing is candle wicks up first and started breaking the lows. We executed right when the candle started breaking lows and captured some pips. So the same thing appeared in GBP but in opposite direction. So let's look at, first of all, we need fake out. We did a fake out below 163.500 area. Second thing was zone. So there was some sort of zone present at 168.900 area. Third thing was volume. There was a volume present as we can see big body candles. And number 4 was candle wicks below star. As this candle started breaking its own high, I just executed buys. My stops were 18 pips. I entered with small loss because I need to go to somewhere. I placed my stops, placed my TP right above here. I actually did a mistake. I placed my TP way above head, but I closed we once we were in 29 to 30 pips profit on this trade. So this thing was pattern 1. And if you look at my Forex London session live stream, I anticipated that low quality buys may appear above 163.900, but once we faked below this area and then candles started breaking above highs, then it was not low quality trade. Instead, there was very high probability for prices to keep pushing up. So this was pattern 1. On the other hand, pattern 2 appeared in this chart at same at I would say little bit later after pattern 1. So in pattern 2 we require 2 to 3, I, I would say same amount of things as in pattern 1. First of all in pattern 3, first of all in pattern 2, sorry, we need volume, we need some sort of established trend. As we can see, we have an established bearish trend in GBP/JPY. Second thing is volume. There was volume present in. Third thing is fake out. We have done fake out, but if we look at higher time frame, there was high probability for prices to keep pushing down. And the next thing is zone. So prices form a resistance at zone. This is the thing required in pattern 2. Once this resistance is this candle closed like this, next as the next candle started breaking the low, I could have entered short by placing my stops above the candles, and I could easily have secured like 44 pips. And the potential target for pattern 2 is this area. So what we will do, we will identify our pattern 2 we haven't identified because we haven't defined our pattern 2 so far, but now I will define my pattern 2. Pattern 2. In pattern 2, first thing we need is an established trend. Number 1, established higher time frame trend. This is the first thing we need. Second thing we need is volume. All my 3 patterns require volume, else the pattern will not work. The third thing is fake out. We need basically 2 fake outs in this type of pattern. First fake out we need, for example, this is trend, we are continuing moving down, and here we created a fake out. First of all, we need a fake out in direction of trend, and we need what we are basically waiting in this type of pattern is retracement, and once the price retraced, we will enter short. This is the whole idea behind this pattern. Fake out in direction of trend, and the next thing is zone in opposite trend. And fifth thing fifth thing we need is fake out above on fake out above, below, zone, opposite to trend, and sixth thing is entry once candles close. Basically we need an entry. We can enter right at candle close by placing the stops above here, or we can wait for candle to close break below the low, and then we can enter. But and our potential TP is to this area in this pattern. So this is example of pattern 2. Now I will save this pattern on blog for further references. We don't need monthly, we don't need weekly, we will start from daily. 4 hour H1 M30. This is our entry and this is our potential stop. M15 entry, potential stop. So our pattern 2 is now complete, and look at I will upload this basically okay, on my blog for you guys so that you can see it later on, or I can see it later on whenever I want. Pattern to example definition, I would say. Explained in Forex New York Session live stream, 1st July 22, right in the start. So for future references you can visit this live stream to see this pattern. However, I need to look at pattern 3 because there is high probability for pattern 3 to appear today. So let me look at the pattern 3. First of all, we will look at conditions of pattern 3. Volume is must. Without volume everything else is invalid. Prices keeps moving up, minor to no retracement. Okay, fake out above strong zone after a major rejection. Weekly, daily. Okay, basically we have an established trend in downside, but this this pattern 3 is basically an extension of pattern 1, I would say. Pattern 2, I would say. Fake out above strong zone after a major move. Weekly down entry. So this exact pattern appeared yesterday in gold also. If we look at gold, this thing, this pattern, this was our entry right here as per pattern 3, and this was our potential TP. You see we have 1:3 risk reward entry because what we know. Okay, let me look at if we are reconnected successfully. Hello. So okay, and the next thing, okay, entry in line with trend. So first of all, volume was present, prices keeps moving basically in opposite direction of trend. An established trend was bearish in this thing, and yesterday we also have an established bearish trend. So these two conditions are met. Number four condition is also met, fake out. So we need to look at if the 1822 was strong area where we have done a fake out. Yes, basically 1822 is H4 support and resistance, basically a zone, and we have done fake out above 1828 yesterday at this point. So this condition is also met, and next condition is the entry in line with higher time frame. So yes, at this point this was our entry. We could easily have secured at least 50 pips, and that's it. So this was an example of pattern 3, and basically pattern 3 is also very closely related to pattern 2, I would say, but the only difference is in pattern 2 when a candle will close like this by breaking above all the resistances, it may come into point that trend has changed, but it doesn't happen that easily, because if we look more closely at H4 we actually move this way. So I am anticipating that in New York session we may experience the same thing. We may capture move into buys, or if we were fail to capture move prices going into buy, we may later enter into shorts. So I am basically ready at this point to execute on whatever is presented to me. For now it is just a wait game. We need to wait a lot, literally a lot, like 1 2 3 4 5 6 H4 candles were bearish. We are breaking below strong support levels in 1791 is very strong level. If we break and close above 1793 or 1796, there is high probability we have done a fake out at this point, but we need more confirmations. We are just waiting. So I have explained from past, I would say 20 minutes, that what I am looking in gold. At this point I will remove this because we know what we are waiting for in gold. Yes, and we need to delete this. So here is what we need at this point. We'll remove this. We will extend this. And yes, at this point we are just waiting. We are waiting for move. There is high probability for pattern 3 to appear today. So we are just waiting. So these were examples of pattern 2. In my opinion, the move that we were looking for in GBP JPY is basically over. So at this point, prices may continue moving up, down more at to till 162.500 area, but I am at this point just waiting, or I want to say, just stay away from these things. So this thing is amazing, man. I hope you recognize this pattern 1 and this pattern 2, and what I am now noticing is there is pattern 1 present right over here. This chart is amazing, this live stream. I will personally look at this live stream later on. How this thing is pattern 1? Let's look at pattern 1 definition. We need fake out, zone, volume, candle. Okay, fake out. This thing was fake out. We know we have done fake out at 163.900 area. There was volume, some sort of volume present. As by looking at the size of candles, we can anticipate there is volume present. Zone required. There was a zone at 163.400 area, and the next thing was candle wicks up first and then started breaking the low. Basically, once this candle wicks up first, started breaking the lows, this is our entry point at this area, and 18 pips was our stop, and we could have easily got about, I would say, 48 pips on this trade. So this day was amazing, literally amazing. We have our Basically, I have two patterns. The third pattern is just an extension of pattern 2. So those two patterns just appeared 3 times in a span of, I would say, like 4 hours. I'm pretty impressed by the quantity of these patterns, or by the occurrences of these patterns. And I will be looking at gold today, and there is high probability that we may find some pattern 2 at this point. For now, it makes sense for us to just wait. We are just waiting at this point. just waiting for candles to close, and then we will ready to our analysis. Like we have already dropped like 200 pips in gold so far. We have defined our pattern 1 and pattern 2 in GBP In gold we are just waiting at this point. So let's look at my account history. So this week I have traded 3 trades so far. I am allowed to take 2 trades per day, but I missed 2 trading days. What is this, man? I intentionally missed 2 trading days. I profited 12 US dollar on one trade, and I have lost 14 and 6 US dollar on 2 trades in gold. And yes, this is the way things are. And I am allowed to take 2 trades per day, but those trades will be based on only the patterns that I recognize. I would say the 3 patterns that I have defined, that I have put examples into blogs, and that I have explained you guys on live stream. I am only allowed to take 2 trades on those patterns. I will now not do any random trading because these trades were random trades. If we look at this trade, okay, sell in gold. Let me look at the sell. Yes, man, this trade was very, very bad trade. This trade doesn't make any sense. Why did I enter in this trade in first place? My excellent trade will be right in this area, or and later on this trade, this day was consolidating. I entered, I pushed and forced myself into trade, and I have lost. So these losses, like for 20 US dollar loss, can be avoided if I didn't have done that mistakes. So let's see. GPY can keep on falling on, but we are not concerned about that. It's okay. We are only looking at GBP, only looking at gold. There is high probability that we will find an excellent trade today in gold. And I would say lower my risk. I will be entering with 0.03 lot. I have made some profits for today. I want to risk some profits, some of the profits that I have made today, but I don't want to lose the entire profits. If it wasn't for my mistakes, I am very pretty sure that I will be in huge profits this week. I didn't make profits this week just because of mistakes. I entered in wrong trades at wrong time and missed excellent trade setups. And I am very confident from next week I will be very disciplined. So the whole idea behind starting a YouTube channel in which I was challenged to be a disciplined trader is now finally working out. And it's only like 14-15 days until I have started this YouTube channel, and things are paying off. For now, we are just waiting. We need to wait for 4 almost 4 minutes left in candle closing, and then we'll redo our analysis. We are pretty good so far. waiting. Waiting in gold. M30 candle is now closed. This thing could be a fake out. The same thing we are anticipating, but we are waiting at this point. We are open to any opportunity that market will present us. It's not like that we are anticipating buys at this point and we will go full margin on this trade. It doesn't work like that, and I will not act like that. In my opinion, we need to wait basically for 30 more minutes. we are testing below the lows, but we have basically broken below the low of previous 30-minute candle in first 4 minutes, first 5 minutes of this 15-minute candle. But we are basically waiting at this point. Let's look at breaking below the low. Gold H1 candle is strong, bearish. There is still very high probability for prices to keep pushing bearish, but we are waiting. Need to wait for more minutes. But I still don't understand the reason why prices are moving down in gold instead of all those inflation issues. Let's look at news. Nothing, nothing in gold and nothing in GBP JPY so far. M15 candle has closed with no wick at the bottom, but M30 and H1 candles are open, so there is still a probability for prices to keep pushing down unless and until we see something otherwise. These have again moved up in last 15 minutes of H1 candle. So we are basically waiting at this point. Need to wait for 12 more minutes before we can plan our trade. Candles will close in around 11 minutes. Just waiting at this point. We are waiting for candles close. H1 candle is about to close in 1 8 minutes. H4 candle is will also close in 1 hour. I highly believe that a retracement in gold is expected, but we'll see how that trade will appear. But at this point, we are just waiting. Candle M30 candle is about to close. It seems like it could be a fake out, but we need to wait at this point. We need to wait for 1 minute for candle to close, and then we will plan our trade. I am just basically waiting for candle close. Okay, so now the candle has closed a bullish H1 candle. It has left a 50 pips of wick below the candle. Still, there is a probability for prices to keep pushing up. If we break above 1792 area, you know what? I will paper trade. I will try to paper trade a trade idea because at this point I am ready to execute on something. This whole move down, and if we readjust our zone a little bit like this, and we adjust our support like this. If we break above this area, there is high probability for prices to keep pushing up. Yes, I placed a buy stop right over here. My stops will be around 20 pips, and I am ready to execute this trade idea on my demo. If we break above these wicks, there is high probability for prices to keep pushing up till 1795 area. But we are just waiting at this point. If we look at M30 looks like have created a rejection zone, rejection wick at 1785 area. If we break above previous candle in H1, if we look at in H1 time frame, and if we break above previous candle high in last half of this hour candle, then there is high probability, way high probability for prices to keep pushing up till 1796 area. But at this point we are just waiting. need more confirmations, and we are just waiting at this point. The way this candle was rejected from this area, market can retest this area, but it needs to form a resistance at this point. But we are just waiting at this point. Okay, I am lowering my lot size. I will execute this buy position once we start breaking above high of previous H1 candle. I will place my stop loss around here, 22 pips, around 4-5 US dollar. I am willing to take a risk on this trade, but this entry will be a counter trend trade, so we need to be very careful with this trade. In M5 F in M5 time frame, the current candle has started to break the low of previous M5 candle, So we have strong established downtrend. Prices may continue moving down to retest 1785 area, but we are concerned about, yeah, there is very high probability for prices to keep pushing to the low. Now I will remove this stop. We are just waiting at this point. If we break above these wicks, there is still very high probability for prices to keep pushing up. Yeah. But we do need to wait at this point. We are just waiting. this buy stop to remain valid. We want this M15 candle to close bullish, else this buy trade analysis is invalid for now. Gold, trade idea that if prices break above these wicks, they can continue moving up. But if we look at M5, once this bearish candle starts breaking below the low of previous M5 candle, there was high probability for prices to keep moving bearish till 1785 area, and that trade idea just worked. But for now, we are just waiting. There is nothing for us in gold today. So the Comet Comics candle is about to open in almost 1 minute. For now, we are just waiting. We have started breaking below 1785 area, but we are basically waiting for closes at this point. Okay, so this is the Comet Comics Open, and still there is a probability for prices to keep pushing down till 1781 area, almost 40 pips away. And yes, that can happen too. But yeah, for sells there is high probability for shorts and lower probability for longs. But at this point, we are just waiting. We are waiting to see if we are creating some sort of range as we have created yesterday in gold. We need to be very careful at this point. And if this M5 candle closed bullish, I may execute a buy position at this idea, at this area, and I will execute a buy position above 1791 on my real account. Also, I am getting myself prepared for this, but we are just waiting. We need to wait for 3 more minutes at this point. Okay, in my opinion, the same thing as of yesterday is happening. I have placed my buy stop at 1788. My stops is around 38 pips. Huge stop, huge stop, even in M5 time frame. I still do believe that if we break above 1791 area, we can most probably cover this 50 pips range. But we need to wait, we need to see what market will present us. GBP JPY is continuing its move down, and yeah, there was very high probability for prices to keep moving down, as I have explained in my London session live stream, but there is nothing for us in GBP JPY. We are waiting for candle close in almost 1 minute. The Comet Comics candle will close in next 5 minutes. NYC open is about in 5 minutes. So till that point we are just waiting. Okay, the M5 candle is now closed. There is still very high probability for prices to keep pushing up. And at this point, I will execute a buy position, place my stop like 20 pip. I am willing to risk like small position over here around 4 to 5, 6 US dollar on this trade, and I will take my TP around here, right at this level. But again, this trade is very risky trade, and it can even hit my stops in just 10 seconds. But I am okay to lose the amount I have risked at this point. Let me further adjust my stops. We need to wait for 3 more minutes at this point, and then maybe we can it is a counter trend trade, it is a very risky trade. It may not work, and even if it works, the probability of working this type of trade is very low. And in future I will avoid taking this sort of trades. 2 minutes left in candle close. Now the whole idea for buys at this point is invalid, but I will wait and I will wait to see what will happen at this point. So the M5, M30 and M15 candle is closed. Let's look at them. The 30-minute candle has closed strong bearish with a wick at low, so there is high probability for prices to retest this wick. And in M5, I guess my trade idea is now invalid. I will close some portion of my position here. It's not closing. And this whole trade is now, I would say, worthless. It will hit my stops now, and I am ready to accept the risk around $303 on this trade, and I will be waiting and see if I can find some trade above 1791 area, and I may execute a position above 1791 area. But at this point we need to wait. The point is I can't close half my position here. Maybe I can close it manually. 0.01. Okay, I will close this trade manually. But at this point this trade is very risky and there is very high probability to hit my stops on this trade. I should have waited for break above 1791 area for better buys. Better buys above 1791. about 12, 13, 14, 15 pips on this trade. The whole idea for this trade is that this trade appeared on yesterday, but once this candle started breaking above the high of this M5 candle, if I would have executed buys, I could have get something out of the market. So this was the idea behind execution on this trade setup. Like I have risked around $5 initially. Now if my stop loss gets hit, I will lose around $3 on this trade. It is in now in small profit, but profit doesn't matter. The whole idea behind this trade is that the previous M15 candle has done a fake out below a strong H4 support, and plus we have dropped a lot from the start of Asian session. So there was a probability, I will say, that prices may retest this area before pushing lower, but it is just an idea. It doesn't mean that market have to follow your analysis or things like that. I have break even my trade. I can't trade my close my trade in half. I will probably close my position right over here. It is not closing. Let's close. So at this point I have closed. I shouldn't have entered in this position at first place because it was very risky, and it has proved us that it is a risky trade. Overall trend is bearish. We are still expecting prices to keep moving down, and however, we if we find some sort of close break and close above 1791 area, there is high probability for prices to keep pushing up till 1796 area. So we are just basically waiting at this point. This trade, although is a profit, but it is very bad trade because I have violated my trading plan for this trade, and I actually should have waited for candles to break above this whole area around 1790, 1791 for prices to keep pushing up, but this is the way things are. So basically the second trade I took has now put me into a very bad position. Let me write it down in my journal. In my opinion, market is waiting for ISM manufacturing news at in 1 hour and 20 minutes. So I am basically the whole idea for buys was that there is high probability for prices as they have peak out below this area to continue pushing up. But if we enter at 1791, our stop loss will be big. That's why I have entered in this area, and I placed my stops around 10 pips. But this was a wrong trade. Just you can't enter in a trade that hasn't shown you something that you have seen in the past to enter, just because you wanted to lower your stop loss. Trading doesn't works like that. So it was my technical and psychological mistake, and I made a note of it on my journal. So at this point there is still a very high probability if M15 candle close like this, the prices can keep pushing up first till 1790 area, and if the volume is with us we can even move further to 1796 area for buys. On the other hand, for shorts we need to break below 1785 area, we need to close below that area so that we can keep pushing down, but there is very high probability that in next, I would say half an hour or in next hour we can keep pushing up. At this point we are just waiting to see how things will play at this point. So I will leave the stream very soon. I still believe that there is high probability for prices to keep moving up. So we are breaking below 1784 area and prices can keep continuing moving down. At this point, whole ideas for buys is now over. Just delete everything related to buys at this point. I was anticipating that a buy move may appear today, but that didn't appear. We are still waiting for better entry. Better entry, in my opinion, was once this M5 candle started breaking below the low of previous M5 candle and our stops will be around 15 pips. We could have easily secured like minimum 10-20 pips from this trade, but that didn't happen. We have again tested the lows, but the whole question is, can we break and close above 1790 for prices to keep pushing up? But we will see at this point. There was excellent trade at in GBP that I have missed, and I am this trade was missed when we were off of the stream, else I would have captured this trade, and this trade was like 100 pips of drop. At this point we are just waiting, we are waiting to see. I'm waiting for hourly candle to close. M30 candle is closing like a rejection at support, but we will see how things will go. We are waiting for M30 candle to close. Now there is very high probability if we break above 1791 that we can keep pushing up. We are just waiting at this point. But we need to break and close above 1791 for better buys entry. You see our stop loss on previous buy has now hit. I will execute a buy position above 1791. This is just my test account and I place my trades on this account. Nothing fancy about that. For now, I am getting myself ready to execute once the thing that I want to see appears. At this point, we are just waiting. We are waiting for 4 more minutes and then maybe I can enter a long. I don't want to execute another trade on my account because I have already executed 2 trades. This trade was very bad trade. This trade just violated my trading plan. If I would have saved my chance to trade, then I would have executed a buy position above 1791. But at this point, we are waiting. We need to wait for 3 minutes for candle close, and if the next candle wicks below first and starts to break above 1791 area, that will be an excellent buying opportunity to potentially hit 1795 target. भाई दरवाजा बंद कर दियो. We are just waiting at this point. Above 1791 is an excellent trade idea, and we are waiting for buys above 1791. We are almost testing like 1790 area, and it's almost 2 minutes left in candle close, and we can anticipate that volume is present, so we may not get the wick below first, but I will see how I can execute on something, and I want to develop my experience, so that's why I'm waiting for this trade. There is high probability for next 15-minute candle to continue pushing up till 1796 area. At this point we are just waiting. So in gold, prices are basically ranging in 55 pips of range, and now it tested 1791 area. We are just waiting at this point. Still there is very high probability for next 15-minute candle to test this area and starts continue moving above 1791 area. This is where I will execute it on my demo account. and that's it. So the H1 candle is now closed. H1 candle has closed like a slightly bearish candle, but it faked below even the previous H1 candle. If we are able to break above 1791, we can at least test 1794 area. And this is my whole analysis for gold. So we are just waiting. I am waiting for 30 more minutes before I will finally close this live stream. There is high probability